Environmental Engineering. He's currently the CTO of Engineered Carbon Solutions, which works towards developing fuel to compete with the wood pellet market. Prior to that, he co-founded Simplified Energy Solutions, which is a project in which is a development and alternate fuel implementation firm. In addition to these firms, he's part of multiple technology startups ranging from a revolutionary biodiesel technology group to an exciting new combined heat and power company. Michael Curtis is an entrepreneur in energy with many contacts along the Northeast, which allows him to be well known and helps him build strong relationships with companies like Siemens, Fuel Cell Energy, Titan Energy, and these other types of companies. So please join me in welcoming Michael Curtis.
I give a pretty easygoing but passionate talk. So, in the arrogance of Mike Curtis, and if you all feel a little pokes in your ribs, that's my ego. That I've never, I don't know how many hundreds of talks I've given, but many hundreds, maybe 1,000. I don't know. It's a big number, and I didn't practice this one, but it'll go up just fine. It'll be just fine. I'm pretty confident. I've never given this one before, and so I'm looking. This is going to be a neat little experiment because I'm looking for someone who is willing to be sacrificial lamb or whatever animal you want to choose, that doesn't want to talk in front of people, but will do it because I'm like that. Is there anyone, it's like, anyone who really is uncomfortable talking in front of people here who would like to try some stuff out? We'll see how it goes. If not, I'm going to pick someone. So, either or. You can volunteer your hand, we might actually have a little bit of fun, or I will tap you on the shoulder and we might not have fun. We'll figure that out. So when the time comes up, I'll look for, someone who's got the guts to do this. So I was looking for a rather tongue-in-cheek name of what I'm going to call this talk, and here it is. Heidi Douglas, who works in the engineering law group, works with this communique of what I am and what I do. How to shake hands with a drink in your left hand and introduce yourself. Yeah, okay, fine. We'll do a little bit of that, but mostly we'll be talking about talking. Okay, and the importance of what I'll call oral communication. Now, before all this wonderful stuff, which I've not made a dime at, that he detailed before, I've not made any money at it. Before I did that, I was executive vice president of a 350-person firm, and pretty much their public face out of Manchester, Connecticut. I was 26 years at a company called Plus & O'Neill. I grew a pretty sizable industrial service practice there, and I was wonderfully innovative, at least in my own mind, and I got fired. I was perhaps, I've been reasonably well spoken the whole time here, my whole career here. I went to UConn as an undergrad. I went out and got a job for Ralph Nader. It was not Concord, but it was something like that back in the day. And I had to go get over knocking on doors at night, 5 hours. I did that for 5 hours a night for a year. I knocked on doors and learned the ability to think on my feet, to move fast, to be able to counterpoint people in discussions. Tremendous practice in communication. And I would have eventually, at the end of this thing, they would send people out with me for training, and these people in training, I'd go say, I try to hit someone out for $5. I mean, that would be the typical call in Southington, Connecticut, we want $5 to support the cause. And these people who were training with me, these people looked you in the eye, and they said no, and yet, 3 minutes later, you got $5 from them. Imagine that. It's like that, I don't know. But so, I went back to school at UConn here, couldn't get it right, so I came back from a master's program in engineering. I worked at the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, which is another department of energy and environmental protection in Hartford. I came back to UConn here, PhD program, finished that up, started at Boston O'Neill, I spent 26 years there as the last 5 executive vice president. So I've been out there. I got a large, what I'll call Rolodex. I mean, I know a lot of people in America, and I'm at this point in my career, if they don't want to know me, that's fine, but typically I make my way through a bunch of awkward meetings on any given day. All right, so through this whole thing, we're going to embrace humor and my sarcasm, okay? And this is, I'm going to talk about a couple different things, the mechanics of how I present. And I'm hoping at this moment you can see I do have a fair piece of passion to my discussion. And I'm also going to talk about my style, which is not your style, it's my style, right? I am a sarcastic idiot, right? And I get away with it, but that's my style. So we're going to talk about that and you developing your own. My story is fairly unique, and again, it's my story, it's not yours. Right? I had a lot of freedom in my professional life. I had more than I ever wanted before. I'll let you know when I start making money with this freedom. I went out and became the entrepreneur in residence of a pretty sizable firm, innovation, and eventually, as engineers are wanting to do, the risk-reward scenario as it relates to entrepreneurialism is not in favor of the entrepreneur, and yet my company couldn't understand the risk, and that was the beginning of the end as it relates to that firm. Okay, so here was the lead-in, all right? Let's see, do you know how to introduce yourself without dropping your drink? Yes. Can you eat salad and capture people's attention with your research ideas? No. What's your opening line? Well, I can give you that one, okay, we'll get there. When should you stop talking and listen? Mike Curtis, smooth talker extraordinaire, will share his experience and advice dealing with difficult situations, blah, 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 blah. Right, okay. So yeah, as I used to say, I are that guy, right? I am that guy. I can do most of what was on the previous page. This is not about going to social hours and drinking beers and trying to make points with the senior execs at General Electric. This isn't about that at all. All right? This is about the power of talking. We're going to talk about talking. All right? Let's give you a specific example. The tech park. And this discussion here. The tech park. I got asked by the administration of the university to attend and speak at a public hearing in favor of the tech park. Sure, no problems. UConn calls. I do love the school very much. It's done great things for me, and I hope vice versa. So I come back. Whenever I'm asked to come back here and present, I will do that. So I did that. The provost asked me to come talk, and a number of professionals were in the audience. Many of them had handwritten, typed, edited, extensive word editing, what they were going to say. And I came in, the thing was at 6:30 or 7, whatever it was. I sat down and wrote 8 bullets, and crossed out 2 or 3, reorganized 1 or 2. And in 5 minutes, I created the speech that people came up to me afterwards and said it was the most compelling thing they heard the whole night. I had a weight, a gravitas to me about the presentation, and it was like I stepped in here. It's recorded. I tell people all the time. I kind of stepped out of my body and watched myself do this. And man, you're good. I pulled it off. And as another witness to my arrogance and ego, and it's there, not overwhelming. So I've not practiced this speech before. Okay, I'm winging it, just so you all know that. But it'll come out just fine. We'll just be able, all right? So hundreds, 1,000, presentations. I never took a speech class, but it did have a real son of a gun boss. I swear from time to time, so if I get going, you'll hear me swear. I'll try to keep it calm for the moment, I had a boss, and typical engineering students, you're all passionate about it. You're all grad students, by the way? Yes, no? Mostly? Almost all? So you maintain a certain level of passion in what you do, because you wouldn't be in grad school. There's work out there. You can go make money. So why would the world would you go to grad school, right? But there's a certain passion about what you do. So you come up to me, for example, if I was your major advisor, which I'm not, you would all thank you. lucky stars for that one, all right? You would come up to me and you'd hit me up with some brand new exciting thing. You're excited, you're charged, you're driving, and my boss would make me step back and bring it back and basically peel the onion and present this from beginning to end. So he liked to put it so that even he could understand what the hell I was talking about. Right? And this is one bright guy. He wasn't living my professional life, and so he demanded, and this is where in the big years of Fuss and O'Neill, we were growing fast, right? We had a lot of communication back and forth. He demanded a certain way of communication, which I'm going to offer you today, right? Which is to peel it back, take your time, and present it such that most laymen could understand what you're doing. Right? We're going to go through, and I really would like to get someone who's squeamish in the audience, or maybe not squeamish in the audience, to come up. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but we'll give it a shot. He demanded logic, he demanded secret, and he demanded timing, taking of that. We're going to talk a lot about that. Right? So, walk away with this. Force yourself. You know, if your goal is to come out here and learn a little bit about being a better presenter and or discussioner, I mean that word out, all right? You know, then force yourself to come to some things. Be boring. Be deliberate. It's not boring, but be deliberate. Present something that's all-encompassing. I'm talking about passion of presentation. I'm talking about style of presentation. I'm taking my time. I'm being very deliberate in the presentation. I have everyone's attention. I know that, I can see it, all right? So, in the deliberate, all-encompassing talk, I'm giving you 2 keys to the kingdom. You either get your own keys in your own kingdom, right? You can still, inside of what you're doing, inside of this deliberate presentation, be extremely passionate, right? This doesn't mean get rid of your passion that you all have, because you're all in grad school, and you're all studying something that I at least hope you like. Doesn't mean get rid of the passion at all, but be sequential and do it with an economy of words. Right? Don't go long, don't go fast, just talk slowly and get the point across. So, we're going to be talking about coffee. My arrogance says no one's going to be bored. I don't think anyone will be. Right? I can scare some people. Right? I'd love to scare someone here today. That'd be a lot of fun. Statistics are done. Right? But I want to talk thesis today. And I had a lot of discussions about different people about what my thesis was here today. I want to talk about speaking and the power to influence through speech. The ability to be more than perhaps you are or were with the appropriate presentation materials. I could be the biggest buffoon in the world, but you don't know that based upon what I presented here. And as it works out, I'm not the buffoon. So everything's fine. All right? So what do I do? So let's talk a little bit about mechanics. What do I do? How do I present? And in my ego, I imagine myself to be a very, very good presenter. Okay? I really do. I believe I've been complimented enough. I stroke my ego just as well as anyone. So, I speak certainly with passion for what I do, what I did, what I've got, where I'm going. I do have and associated, I'm a 12% owner in a revolutionary biodiesel company. I'm on to a technology right now in micro-combined heat power with the UConn grad in Middletown, Connecticut, that if this thing takes off, I'm going to make a lot of money. This thing's great, right? Passion. Use it. Use it to your advantage. Earnestness. Sincerity. Yeah, okay, I never lie. I'll stretch a point inside of a presentation. But this is who and what I am. This is a sincere Mike Curtis talking to you, about presenting in front of other people. I'm going to get into communication and discussion too. And the big thing, all right, I want to volunteer right now. But who is, I won't ask anyone who raises their hand now, okay? No one who raises their hand now is in trouble or will be called to order. Who is very nervous talking in front of people? Is there anyone out there? It's gotta be someone, okay? 1, 2, 3, get some people, all right? All right, it's fine. It's good, actually, all right? Very nervous. And how do you typically compensate for your nervousness? One typical way. What do you think? What's one way you would compensate for your nervousness?
Well, accept it.
You would accept it, but how would you, if you're very nervous in front of people, would you talk quickly or slowly? Quickly. I would agree with that. All right? So you would talk very quickly. Whereas if you wanted to make a point across, I could say, if you took your time and pause between every word, your point is that much stronger. And so you just swallowed your nervousness. You simply have a very mechanical timing. You know, they used to have, I can't remember what they used to have, the cell phones where you could actually pause for a second while your modem is hooked on. This is all, you know, back in dinosaurs, you walk around the earth, you know. So, but if you take your time, you can deliver a much stronger point. See that? Pause between every word. Little trick. I've taught a lot of people that trick. Okay? You just take your time, and by doing that, you swallow a fair piece of that nervous energy in presentation. Timing. Passion is obvious. Right? There's very little question. And that's something you either do or you don't have. If you don't have it, find something. Right? You should be passionate about what you do. If someone asks you what you do, people call it an elevator speech. I hate that term. Right? I don't want anyone who wants to compartmentalize me in a 30-second between the 4th floor and the 2nd floor run down the elevator. Right? That's no one I want to work with. Has to know that much about me in that time frame. Same way I hate cell phones. I mean, it's just like, you know, I don't need, there's a whole series of things in my life I just don't need right now. Okay? I don't need to work with anyone who has to learn as much about me in 30 seconds that he or she is going to make a decision on whether they want to work with me going forward. If that's their MO, it's a big world, I'll go elsewhere. I hate elevator speeches. They don't allow time. They don't allow passion. They don't allow you to communicate what you do, for example, to me. Right? I've given 1 million interviews in my life. I've hired, I mean, it wasn't a multinational firm, but I've hired hundreds of engineers in my time frame. I would always ask them a few tough questions. But if they were big hires, like more than just entry-level engineers, we typically ended up in a bar for 2 hours. And I don't care whether they drink or not, I did. And you know, it didn't much matter. I was buying, and what I wanted to see from them in that time frame was how it went back and forth. You know, whether they could get off being nervous because I'm not really a fearful guy, and whether they could have a discourse back and forth, whether they could take a breath, whether they could listen, and then obviously absorb what was said. All of this is just intercommunication. People's communication back and forth. Little tricks of the trade. You know, as you're doing it, people notice when you talk to them, wherever it is, what your passion level is, whether you're listening to them, whether you have something to offer, you know, and they do indeed notice. And I'm not a professional speaker. I've never taken a course in this thing. I'm just offering you my life experience, all right, as a dorky engineer who did well. All right? You know, earnest sincerity, okay, this is a quote from Dr. Seuss. I mean what I say what I mean. That's typically the truth. All right? Anyone, for 5 extra points, who said that? Anyone know? Come on. Who's that?
Dr. Susie said.
Dr. Seuss, but who, what character?
Important.
There you go. Excellent. Excellent. All right? I use the right volume. I don't have a mic. You can hear me. I'm not meek. All right? All right? Inside of a different locale, I'll use a different way. If I need to talk to you directly, I'll sit down right here and we'll talk. We'll have a very different volume. But you pick the right volume of speech, right? And timing, right? But really, anyone who's nervous, I'm not going to demand anyone to get up here. I've never done this before, but I want to try. Come on. What's your name?
My name is Saj.
Scott, I'm Curtis.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. What do you, okay, you can face that, but you can face me too. Yeah? All right, so I want to try something, all right? And this is the first time I've ever done this.
Me too.
Yeah, so there we go, okay, all right. If it doesn't work, I'll buy you again, all right? All right, what do you do? What do you study?
I'm a CSE grad student in computer science third year.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm studying how to study large problems, solve problems of large data sets.
Okay, so I understood, which for me is a fabulous result. How to, you know, and I would offer back, okay? Just go the second sentence. I large graphs and large data sets, all right? Now, I want you to take not a visible pause, not a mental pause. I want you to say that last sentence slower, more slowly, and with a slight pause between important words and phrases, and a little bit more powerful with large graph. Try it.
I'm studying problems where you want to analyze a large data set, massive data sets. So I want to give you relevance fast,
So keep going.
fast, quick, and also key.
Okay. If you that, all right. Does anyone do you agree with that? The second one, okay? Now, I want you to just take it and slow it down even more, almost to the point where you're almost uncomfortable with the speed that you're presenting. All right?
I'm studying problems on large data sets. So you have a large amount of data, given questions, you need to know your answers complete and also accurate.
Excellent. I mean, that's remarkable. I mean, that's the difference in the time. Very good. You're all set. Okay? You're off the line.
When I get to it.
Yeah, you get to be a I have a card. I'll come on here with the beer. So, but you see, when the third time around, okay, what I did was you almost were uncomfortable in the speed at which you presented the last part, but it was the most powerful one you had. Okay? It really, because what you did by doing that was you brought out the power of the important phrases that you wanted to demonstrate. Not awkwardly slow, but public presentation strength. So if you stand up in front of a group and say something really fast and show that you're extremely nervous, it doesn't work as well as if I've never given this speech to you before. I can tell you straight up, I'm a little nervous about how it's going to come out. I am, right? It's working fine so far, right? But you see, did you pick it up? Did you see it? Because I thought the third one
Yeah.
was stronger.
For the third one, I thought I need to get the point across. So I had more necessity.
Yeah, bingo. Okay. All right. So one trick. Right? You walk away with one trick here today, and it's really not a trick. It's the mechanics of presentation, a mechanic. There are other people, I think there's another program on giving presentations. No one's going to talk about this, so we're not intersecting as it relates to that. You know, this is me and what I've noticed I do. Right? So one trick to walk away with here tonight is timing. Take your time, and you'll find that if you are nervous, then when you take your time, you're thinking about taking your time more than the people in the audience. And you'll be less nervous. You want all your nervousness, this is not a panacea. All your nervousness does not dissipate, go away forever. Okay? But it does work. Okay? Thank you. Yes, sure.
So I agree that sometimes we have say something a little bit smaller and make the project more maybe clearer to the audience.
Yeah.
But what if sometimes there's a time limit that you have to
given presentations at conferences. You know, I call it the 25-5 rule, or the 22-8 rule. It's a 30-minute time slot. You're stuck right in it. And the last thing you want to do is have 5 slides to go when the guy pulls the plug on you. That comes with practice. If you have to fill 25 minutes, I'm on about my speed, and this is a long storied speed. I mean, there's a million presentations that went into this. I'm at about 0.9 slides per minute. You find your own, but find it. So that, right? You've got a story to tell. I have 22 minutes. I'm going to have no more than 20 slides. If indeed that's your number, right? You'll make some mistakes, but you've got to, as it relates to that kind of a presentation, when you're fitting aside, unless there's a lot of pictures in your presentation, which there could be, in which case you can increase your number some. But you have about, you know, my number is about 0.9 slides of talking per minute. You find your own number, okay? And don't vary from it, because your mannerisms are your mannerisms. And if you slow down, you use less slides. The economy of words. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to talk about? And figure out what it is inside of that. You're bright folks, so you need to figure that out inside, okay? So timing. We talked about it. Pausing between the words increases your strength. Now, who out here, all right, so here's a sincere question. Anyone, they all know what air guitar is? You know, I mean, I grew up in my day, all right? You know, there were dinosaurs, they were kicking on. You know, we had a wrong source over by gas in that day, all right? You know, with the greatest guitars in the world. Jimi Hendrix, I still have every album I did. And I've certainly done my bit of air guitar. What is he talking about air guitars? Because if you're playing your proverbial air guitar, then you're pretending you're that person. Okay? No matter who you are, you're Jimi Hendrix, at least in your own mind for a little bit. Or whoever your favorite, or least favorite guitarist is. So, what I do in preparation and practice for this is I never give my full speech anymore in front of crowds or you know, I never give the whole thing, all 20 slides through anymore. I've practiced enough. You might want to do that. But I air guitar the important parts of my speech for every single talk. I've given this talk in my mind, this one right here today, in my mind 20 or 30 times. Okay? I was thinking about it, you know, brushing my teeth. How am I going to say this? You know, how am I going to talk about mechanics and style as it relates to presentation and discussion? And so, you know, you look yourself in the mirror, you talk to yourself. You know, my wife just kind of ignores me. She laughs at me. You know, I've been married 35 years now, so, you know, it's like she's used to me. You know, she laughs at my talking to myself, because I do. I give speeches all the damn time, only a few of them in front of people. So, a great way to practice. What are you trying to get across in your speech? Right, don't answer that now, okay? But if you've got one high point in your speech that you want to get across, why don't you say that to yourself 30 times before you give the talk? I'm going to say it this way, okay? And if you find with that repetition that you learn how to say it powerfully with an economy of words. Okay? So I liken the air guitar thing because I practice these things all the damn time to myself, in my car, right? Right? So the maximum, walk away with this. If you're trying to get a point across, and you believe it is important, take your time such that each word can sink in. It's boring, perhaps, at least in your vision of the way you're going to present it, but do it. It's very, very powerful, both in one-on-one communication and in presenting in front of people like this. Technical presentation, what have you. It also, I didn't even think of this before I came here this morning, I know for a fact that it lessens the nervous tension of doing this. You're thinking about the mechanics of talking versus the people in front of you. Right? So what do you do? Right? What do you do? And I'm going to ask for some volunteers in a second. We'll buy this stuff. Right? You talked, thank you. You talked, you came up, right? And slowed you down. I'm going to do that again with someone. In order to get to what do you do, let's talk a little bit about what do I do. This is the other half of my tricks. Right? And they're really not tricks as much as just a strength of presentation or a talent of presentation. I have a style of presentation which very much matches my personality. I would urge you, you're all going to be professionals, or most all of you are going to be professionals in the engineering world out there. You develop a style that matches your personality. You're all wonderfully intelligent folks. This should be, there may not be, but there could be some extreme confidence in that. Your style should reflect that. As I tell my undergraduate presentations, you know, that you're all going to leave school, you're going to make, you know, educated decisions. And so for me, I'm highly educated and I make highly educated decisions. That's my style, right? It's arrogant. My style is pompous. My style is egotistical, right? I get away with it. That's my, it's not what you do. I recommend no one do it, but it's what I do. I get away with it, right? You could possibly use a style in presentation. Stylistic points, again, points in presenting a serious topic to a group, right? It's what is he talking about? You know, how many people approach presentations? How many people approach presentations with, I can't wait to get this behind me? Is there anyone out here? There you go, okay. Right? Suppose you did it differently. And maybe we could try if you're of mind. And if not, no worries. I'm not forcing anyone to do anything. All right? Suppose you did it differently. Rather than, I can't wait to get this behind me, you just, I can't wait to go in here and kick some ass. All right? I can't wait. I mean, you know, in my trepidation of coming here and putting this the first time I've ever given this presentation, in my trepidation of doing that, I was excited. Right? I took upon this thing, all right, I got something new. Right? This is great. Right? I got something new to try, and you know, it's come on. So suppose you attack it differently, which is when you give a presentation. What's your name? Sarah. Sarah. Sarah, when you give a presentation, you probably know what you're talking about. Okay? I'll even remove the word probably. Okay? You know what you're talking about because heaven forbid how scared you'd be if you didn't. Okay? If you're nervous enough about presentations, then if you weren't prepared for it, oh, you'd be dead meat. Okay? Be little vultures circling around. You know? So, you probably know more than anyone else in the room about what you're talking about as it relates to the specifics of your presentation. Why wouldn't your style and your ego and your persona reflect that? I know this, right? And this is something it's rhetorical. You don't need to offer an answer, right? But you're coming in with a piece of knowledge that no one else has, perhaps. And you know, you should be. There's at least a little bit of confidence that comes in with that knowledge. And it's easy to say and much, much harder to do. So let's talk about styles. Mine is not yours. My style is freaking outrageous. Okay, you've not seen me exercise it to its fullest extent, but I do. Right? I am enough of a people person, I'm a pretty good people person, to figure out where the limits of appropriate lie. And I go right to it. audience specific and audience dependent. I go right to them. Right? I made some mistakes and gone by them. I've done that. I tend to stay a little bit to the left-hand side of the now. So I try to be outrageous in presentations. That's me, that's not you. Don't do it, all right? This is not something I suggest you do. This comes with years of practice and several advanced degrees and you know, a bunch of confidence in what you're doing. But I would offer, and you had a good one, a good style. You were just confident in the way you presented. Here's who I am, here's what I got. I liked it. It felt just fine to me. I slowed you down mechanically, but your style was just fine. You could get in front of a group and explain, explain to them, what you did. You do just fine with that, okay? It portrays you. The best speakers I have ever seen. You ever go to a conference in whatever your field is, and a big conference, ASME or any of the big megas out there, chemical groups out, chemical engineering has big ones, huge 30,000 person conferences. And there's certain speakers that are standing room open, right? And if you've ever been to any of those conferences that are out there, and I've been to quite a few of them. I've been one of the speakers a couple times in my life where it's standing room open. I knew some stuff really, really well once upon a time when I was pretty outrageous in the presentation. The best speakers are ones that are accomplished academically and have a style that just beats the band. Right? Cigar chomp in New York, a guy named Wesley Eckenfeld. He was a chemical environmental engineer. He passed away about 3 years ago. He wrote the book, Is There a Place for Industrial Wastewater Treatment, which is something I knew an awful lot about back in my day. And the guy talked out the side of his mouth as if he had a stogie in his mouth the whole damn time. And he was unbelievable. I was a good friend of him, which helped a lot too. And so my style, you can do what you want with it. Humor, right? I use humor a lot. I try to make people laugh. Why not, right? I demand it, I exhibit it. Nothing is sacred. Because the second piece of my style, not your style, right, is self-deprecation. I make fun of myself. I am the most unsacred thing in the audience that day. Right? I can make fun of myself for a long, long time. I don't really believe it, but I make fun of myself in front of people. I talk myself down from self-deprecation. Kind of mocking, maybe not, but that's just me. I use it. So, anyone know who that is? What? That's Mad Magazine. What's his name? Alfred E. Newman. And his slogan is? What me worry. Exactly. Okay. Make people smile, you think. I mean, it's the best thing you could do in front of an audience, and I kid you not, as grad students, would be to make a big mistake in a presentation and then laugh about it. Right? Laugh about it in front of a bunch of people, because they'll just look at this, okay, yeah, I've been there, I've done that, that's pretty good, you just recovered real well. Right? So if you can get an advantage by making a mistake, let me give you a different strategy. Make one on purpose. I do it. Guys gave me an advantage in a presentation, I do it in a heartbeat. Right? Why wouldn't you? I mean, make a dumb mistake. Oops. Never mind. Yeah, it's like, why wouldn't you, if you got an advantage doing that? It sounds counterintuitive. But you win in a presentation mode. You win an audience over by showing humanity, showing yourself to be a human. So if you screw up, and you laugh about it in front of a bunch of people that look at you and say, okay, it happens. Everyone in the audience has done it themselves, or if they haven't, it's only because they haven't got the courage to stand up in front of anyone, right? Everyone who's ever given a presentation has screwed it up, right? Anyone who's ever been in a social hour with people has screwed it up, has said something inappropriate, has just, everyone makes these stupid mistakes. So make one, all right, fine. You only need to do that by doing it, and then you just make it up. So I just offer, that when you're there, I found myself stepping out of my body and watching myself present. And this is I hope this is not too Mike Curtis ego watching, you know. I'm just telling you what works, and it does work for me, offering you some tips in doing that. So I hope this has value for you, all right? Yeah, I step out, and I'm the person I want to be in front of the crowd. I am that person. I am, just take my word right now, I am who I want to be in front of you, all right? I like the person I am right now in front of you, so why the hell wouldn't you, okay? All right? Oops. All right, so, practice. This is part of the outrageous pictures, all right? All right, practice. Imagine yourself giving a speech. Talk about your high points. Talk about your high points that you're going to present. What do you work on?
Me?
Yeah,
I work on high-performance concrete.
high performance concrete. Okay, so you're working. Well, Greg France used to run that, but he's not here anymore. Who's the professor?
I work with Dr. Villa.
Okay, I know of him. Yeah. Okay. All right. So imagine, you know, it'd be very difficult. I would never do this, but I have done it where I put together speeches with pictures that have nothing to do with the subject matter of the whole speech. I've done it. All right. But imagine yourself giving a speech in front of your grad colloquium or whatever the group is. Right? And if you imagine yourself hitting the high points 10, 20, 30 times, you're going to be better when you go to do it. You're going to talk about the power of what you're doing. And then, you know, so, all right? Mirrors. Do you look yourself in the mirror and give speeches? Okay. All right. I've done that. Yeah. I've done that a lot. I look myself in the rearview mirror of my car all the damn time and give speeches. Right? I gave this speech on the way here this morning, coming from East Granby, all right? Practice the high points. All right, you're on the wrong side. Thank you. All right? Practice the high points of doing this. What are you trying to convey? Well, say it again and again and again, because you find, you know, you've all been in situations where retrospectively, oh shit, I should have said this, right? You know, that kind of thing where you get really upset with someone and you say, oh, I just said that, right? Well, give yourself the advantage. See, you like that, huh? You did. I got you laughing now, don't I? Right? So give yourself the advantage of doing that beforehand. You know, I got 8 things I want to get across here. They're on slides 6, 7, 9, 12, and 14, and 17, or whatever. That's probably only 6 slides, but whatever. All right? And practice them. Just the high points, not the whole thing. All right? How am I going to powerfully convey what I've got? Okay? Right? So, first impressions on discussions. Okay, everyone says, oh, you know, this is back to the elevator speech. This is my boy in a box. My typical, I give funny story. All right, maybe you'll laugh, maybe you won't, but it's funny to me. All right, so I got you know, an honorarium, an award from the university a couple of years back for distinguished alums. I did some good things up there, and so I love, you know, Ross in civil engineering. He called me up and says, "Well, I want you to give an hour-long presentation." It's a piece of cake, just an hour. And I said, "What do you want to be on?" He said, "Anything you want." Anything I want. Okay. So I gave a presentation on innovation, on engineering innovation, and this was my typical engineer coming out of school's ability to innovate, can't think out of the box. That was my demonstration. The presentation was literally, it was the best thing I ever presented. I got an engineering professor so pissed off at me that day. Oh, it was great. You know, it was like, that isn't why we did this. And I was like, it was perfect. You know, I gave presentations about, you know, these men and women engineers who complained because they couldn't get out of school in 4 years, and so they did a whole bunch of complaints, and the engineering school capitulated and reduced the number of credits they had to take. You know, and so that pissed a lot of people off, and there were a whole bunch of other things that really pissed off the school of engineering, but they all listened, right? First impressions are valuable, but they're not everything. I mean, yes?
I had a question. I mean,
Sure.
And did a story when you're talking and doing a presentation. Stories.
If you've got the time.
Yeah.
If you've got the time.
Is that your style to use?
I digress all the damn time. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I go left and right all the time. All right? I fill up the space with what I need to talk about. And I'll tell stories around that, yes, absolutely. I want to show my humanity. I do. I want you to show your humanity when you're presenting, when you're talking. I want them to show you a person first and a highly skilled, highly intelligent person second. Right? Not denigrating the second by any means, but the first and foremost thing is you're human. And there are people out there from the first impression points that won't accept the fact, I don't care if you're human or not. How the hell is it? Right? There's a lot of people in the world. And there's a lot of people that like your humanity versus, how intelligent you are, whether you can solve that problem. Because there are always smart people around. And so I'm knowing whenever I hire, and I hire a lot, I'm looking for people first and intelligence second. Not that I didn't ever want to hire dumb folk, but so good question. I digress all the time, if I can. First impressions are valuable, but not everything. You can stub your toe, use whatever metaphor you want, and rebound. If anyone on a first meeting basis is going to judge you on 30 seconds worth of conversation, they're not worth the time. Don't worry about it. The world is large, right? It is you as engineers, in sales, sometimes if you're telephoning, you've got to be quick and you've got to be to the point before someone hangs up. Not in engineering. You're trying to relate concepts. You're trying to relate ideas. And it's not a 30-second struggle. So you need, if someone believes, first impressions are everything, they're wrong, in my opinion. Right? They're wrong. They're important, but they're not everything. So you've all been in places where, I certainly have. I was at a wedding 2 weeks ago where the word Harvard got used entirely too much. Harvard became a verb now, an adjective, a preposition. We Harvard at the Harvard. It's like these people, they all went to Harvard, you tell? And I worked so very hard because I'm pretty good at a crowd, and I get, particularly when I get lugubrious, I get really good at the crowd sometimes, I had to work so hard to break into 3 or 4 conversations, and finally after about 3 hours of this thing, I gave up. I went and just, drank red wine, it was fine, and I ended up listening to conversations. And there were no good ones that I heard. There's a lot of Harvard, but no real great conversations that day. And I would offer to you in the interpersonal realm that if you actually just stand inside of a group and not offer anything a little bit, listen to the tenor and the tone and the pace of conversations as it relates to engineering. Listen and learn. And listen that someone is talking, and then in a good conversation, right, in a passionate one, 3 people will then jump in, but someone will take the helm, and she will talk, and everyone else will listen. And then, if it's passionate again, 3 people will die, but someone will grab the dais, grab the microphone, and then everyone else will listen, and that is a good conversation. Listen to good conversations and how they flow. And the examples are not necessarily your advisors, okay? It's not mutually exclusive, but it is not a guarantee that someone has a PhD in engineering that they can converse well, okay? It's not a key to the kingdom. You don't get your PhD based upon your ability to converse, all right? But if you listen to the conversations and their flow, you'll learn something. And so back to my point of, okay, when did I do my best business? It actually happened to be at one table at a bar in Manchester, Connecticut, where I went a couple, 3 nights a week. You can draw whatever conclusion you want from that, but I went a couple, 3 times a week and talked to people about their ideas and drew them out. And we had conversations that I urge you to listen to a few and participate in them more as it relates to engineering hobnobbing, whatever that is, right? Where the flow of this thing back and forth is extremely important. Participate in the flow, understand the flow, And there could be absolutely an American aspect to this, conversation stuff I'm talking about, could absolutely be. Okay? It could be very, very, very much cultural in my culture, right? But I've done this a million times with people. So you really pull things up. But yes, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring things up. You do that by posing and listening. And you really listen. Right? So conversation 101. Right? My older boy, my younger one is not here today. He's advanced in mechanical and PhD program in mechanical. Working with Dr. Sung. And my older boy is challenged because he's so damn right about everything, which is disturbing to us who are always right about everything. But he sat with me. He's worked with me for about 5 years. He no longer does. He sat with me in a number of these conversations. He said those are the most valuable things that I learned. I'm trying to relate to you that if you actually enter a group where people are talking, drink or not, I don't care, cold, water, nothing. It really doesn't matter. Right? If you just listen to it, you can tell a good conversation with a bad one. And you can say, okay, this is the mechanics of this conversation. Someone, professionally grabs the mic, holds the mic, metaphorically speaking, right? And then the other people listen, react, pipe in, et cetera, et cetera. And you can tell that. Listen to a few and try it for yourself. Because from a first impression standpoint, that is much longer than 30 seconds. It might be 30 minutes. And it is extremely powerful in ingratiating yourself or winning points with a person you're trying to impress or get to know or what have you. Okay? You've all entered the tight circle of conversation and people look at you and say, how are you doing? I don't know. I'm just listening for the short term. Yeah, you've all done that. I've done that, sir. I told you a story about last week where I got tired of doing that. I couldn't do it. So, in finality, okay, I truly believe, and the reason I'm here today, and the reason they asked me to do this, right, is that I truly believe that professional growth is aided by what I'll call improved oral communications. Oral being the spoken word. Right? You're all going to write. Everyone can write. A lot of people can write. A lot of people can edit. But not everyone is powerful in discussion. Right? And these can be improved by practice. She left Sarah, and courage. Try some stuff. No substitute for making a mistake. Because it's like, I liken it, this is the biggest cause of turnover we have in the whole company. Someone 3 years there didn't understand why they weren't CEO yet. And my line to them was invariably, you haven't been hit in the head enough, right? You've got to come on, you take a metaphorical baseball hat back to the head, and you say, wow, that sucked. I never want to do that again. And that's how you learn. Right? You get in a really bad situation where you lose sleep at night. And you say, I never want to do that again, and that's how you learn, right? So if you go and present, if you're afraid of presenting, go make 20 presentations. Join whatever it is, the speech Toastmasters. I know people who have done Toastmasters and done very well with it. Not for me, but I know people who have done that, right? And done very well, and they force you to talk, practice, encourage, right? So with that, I conclude. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere until 2 o'clock. So if anyone's got anything they want to relate to me or questions now, later, what have you, thank you very much.